You are listening to the City Podcast. Unadulterated, non-politically correct, unfiltered, real talk. The city from the inside out with your hosts, Chad Cranston and Steve Mealing.
Welcome to the City Podcast. My name is Chad Cranston. What's your name?
I'm Steve Mealing, and we've added a new element. We started doing live feeds, which is really weird for me, but Chad loves it.
I love it. It's been kicking ass. Thanks, everybody, for following us, asking your questions. We can't get to everybody, but if we can, we will. That's how we roll with this. So, we have a really good friend on today.
Hello.
Her name is Cait Alexander. The lovely Cait Alexander.
The lovely.
Gracing us here on the City Podcast.
Ta-da.
Ta-da.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty dope.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming along. Hey, Steve.
Thanks for coming to the West End.
Yeah. Are you an East Ender?
I'm Yorkville, so I'm
I
dead
figured
in the
as much.
center. But it actually wasn't too bad. It was only about 20 minutes.
Did you get caught up in Fashion Week at all up there?
Oh my gosh, yeah, no, that was crazy. I was there I went skiing on Monday, but on Tuesday I was there from like 4 until the beautiful end of everything. It was awesome.
Are you in the show? Were you?
No, I didn't actually. I actually really enjoy just watching the shows now. I haven't really like hung up my heels per se, but I really just love going to the shows and just being a part of the whole thing. And I'm so happy that Toronto Fashion Week is in Yorkville now. Mm-hmm. I think that's just the right location for it, and it was honestly such a blast. Like, it was so much fun.
We have an alumni in there this year, don't we?
What do you mean? Christopher Bates?
Yeah, that would be considered.
Yes.
He's been on the show.
Bates been there,
being an alumni.
Bates, who else?
That's a big word,
Alumni.
Yeah.
Isn't it for school?
Alumni, kind of.
Like graduation.
Yeah, he graduated from our course.
University.
The
From your
course of
course?
shit talking.
The course of table talk.
Actually, I wasn't there for that one. I was out.
Yeah, you were out. That was Spiro.
Spiro guest hosted with Chad on that one.
Oh, you guys know Spiro as well?
Yeah, Spiro did that one with me. I don't know nothing about fashion like that on that level. So
Yeah,
I
have you
need
been to
bring
Fashion
somebody.
Week?
Oh yeah, many times.
Yeah,
but, like,
I was gonna.
I've been many times, but I don't
They
know.
went
Like,
in
when
depth.
it comes down to like the industry of fashion and the design elements and the fashion icons that he looks up to, and like design itself. I know nothing about that, like the deep stuff. So like him and Spiro could talk about like double stitching and all that kind of stuff. Like who the influences are.
Chain stitching is more important.
Chain stitching?
Chain stitching. I know that stuff.
That's
detail.
really
It's all
cool.
detail.
Details.
Right?
That's how you know if you're getting a quality garment or not nowadays, especially.
Double stitching? Or
Absolutely.
what's it called?
Well, chain stitching.
Chain
if you
stitching.
want.
Right. See, that's very important. You had an incident. I was telling you about our week. It was really crazy on our email. 'Cause the reason why I didn't get back to you soon enough. This guy has a really crazy story.
Oh shit!
Oh,
yeah.
this past week.
This past
That's
Tuesday,
why-
it's like Tuesday.
Yeah, I was driving on the
This is
400
their
south
PSA.
Oh,
from Barrie, actually up north,
okay.
and I just got on the highway. I just left Barrie, so I was just before 89, which is Cookstown.
Yeah.
And I was just in cruise control, doing 100 clicks an hour.
Yeah.
Just listening to the podcast, just settled in, was about to light a dart. I smoke. And then wham, all of a sudden I just got hit and spun out and then slammed
Got
into the
hit from
guardrail
behind?
from behind. And I get
Oh my
out.
gosh.
I totally was frazzled. Everything started to hurt too. That's the crazy thing. Even with the adrenaline pumping.
Whiplash, right?
Yeah.
Like,
So I ended up getting out.
shit.
Cars are coming towards me, and I had pulled it together enough to grab my bag and just get out and run across the highway.
Yeah.
And it turned out, and I looked down the highway, and about a quarter of a kilometer down there, like a truck was rammed into the guardrail. So it turns
Oh
out
my
this guy was
gosh.
doing between 140 and 150 in the middle lane,
Yeah.
and was texting or something, and just drove right into, like, changed lanes and drove right into
Oh
it.
my
There was a
God.
witness.
Yeah.
But I had an X5,
Yeah.
and it
Are you
compacted about a
complete-
foot.
I'm so
A
glad
foot
you're okay.
inside, yeah, but
Holy
if it wasn't for
shit.
that truck, I probably would be dead, actually. That's the crazy thing.
Okay, so someone hit you from behind when
When I was
the
doing
truck-
100,
When you were doing 100.
and he came up behind me doing 140, 150. And it was a work truck, so it was loaded with equipment.
Okay.
And it turns out
But
that
it was
the
the
guys...
truck that was in front of you that stopped your...
No,
Okay.
I just kept going. I
Yeah.
flew forward, spun out, and ran into
Oh.
the guardrail.
Was it icy? Because the roads have been
No,
really sloppy.
it was
no?
totally normal.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
So needless to say, I'm glad to be alive.
Yeah, we're glad that you're here.
And that
Holy
way,
shit.
Peaches still has a father.
Yes. Your
I would
daddy's
take her.
alive.
I know everyone wants damn dog.
Can I have her if you die?
I'll be your godparent.
You're her godfather, so...
Can I have her if you die? Is my question.
Yeah.
So I don't even believe we're actually putting this into the universe.
Can I have her if you die?
So you're still not picking up on the fact that I don't want to
I want you
acknowledge
to
it,
answer
'cause
the
I don't want
question.
you to put it out into the universe.
Why not? Because you're somebody else.
Yeah, let's not. No.
You
No
know, but I
one's
want the
dying.
dog.
What?
Okay,
I'm not
if
a
you get
mass.
sick,
I'm not a
if you get
mass
sick-
If
murderer.
something happens, is
Can I
probably
take
the...
care
Would
of
you
her?
not word it like that, Kate?
If
something
something
happens-
if
die.
you die,
Yeah, exactly.
Doom and
if
gloom.
you
You're
end
not
up
going
on
to die.
CB24, like
He was on CB24. It was actually at the gym when this happened. And I'm like, imagine that was Steve.
from your accident.
Yeah. And I'm like, imagine that was
For
Steve.
your
'cause
accident, you're
Yeah,
on CB.
because I had a Shriner
Holy.
emblem on the back of the truck.
Right.
And I guess Chad recognized it.
Oh my god.
He's a Freemason.
Well, I'm glad you're
Nope.
here. That's serious.
Thank you. I
Did
appreciate
you-
the fact that you appreciate that I'm
You
alive.
love the
You're
dog.
Chad does as well. And he's thrown out into the universe that I'm dead.
Oh,
Just to
No,
get a
no.
dog.
okay, injured.
Look at Peaches. She's like, should I? Okay, you can go with Chad then.
You got Mowgli to hang out with,
What
man.
does Peaches want to do?
She just wants to party.
Yeah.
She's like me. 10
It's like a
years
party.
ago.
Yeah.
What's your favorite drink, Peaches?
All of them.
That's
like
what
her
I
dad.
say. That's what I say. Actually, I said that.
If she's up past 2 a.m., there's something going on.
Sneaky lady.
Yeah. Aw,
Busy lady.
She's cute.
She just wants all of attention.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So I'm sorry.
thank you. I
I'm
appreciate that.
sorry.
feel
I want
bad
your
about
dog.
this.
We can edit that from the podcast, but we can't edit that from the universe.
Stay in.
My spiritual energy is damaged.
It'll be okay.
I
We'll
hope
we'll give extra love to Steve's
Oh, yeah.
existence.
I'm gonna have to put out,
Send
I'm gonna have
hearts.
to put out double intentions tomorrow when I
I want to
wake
see
up.
hearts.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's going on with you, man? Start
Oh
off
my
from the
gosh.
get-go. What's everything going on with your talented
More than a
self?
pretty face is what I've been told.
Oh Lord.
There's so much
Thank
going
God.
on.
Thank God.
We've never really actually ever talked about this because always in past, I'm doing this, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, damn, man.
Look, running through whatever
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
we're running through,
Yeah,
screaming
I have
things
an
at each
idea.
other.
I don't have an
Okay.
idea. I mean, you have a detail, but I think the people don't know, and I think they would like to know.
Well, thank you, people. I think, as you know, Chad, I modeled all over the world for 4 years, lived just about everywhere that you could possibly live.
Australia?
That's the only one that I didn't hit.
Just
I'm
saying.
dying to go there. But I came back and I was like, you know what? I think I'm ready to not hang up my heels per se, but just stop living so abroad and be here. And Toronto is really busy right now as far as acting work is concerned. And so I ended up getting booked on Star Trek, and I was shooting that for last season. And then the final episode airs on Sunday night.
Which Star
Star
Trek?
Trek's massive, eh?
Just Star Trek Discovery.
So
That's the new one?
The new one.
it's
Yeah.
the most watched show
That's
on
huge.
Netflix right now.
Yeah.
It's even
Are you human? Or sorry, people kind?
I'm people kind.
You're
Yes.
people
I'm
kind?
a part of the Bridge Discovery crew.
Oh, okay. So you're
yeah.
people kind.
I'm people kind. I'm
That's
not a
way
Klingon.
in the future. No, that's in the future when there's no mankind. It's just all people kind.
People kind.
Don't do
Oh.
that Justin Trudeau shit.
Oh, no. Where's that?
So-
Where's
so
that stemming
gross.
from? People kind.
It's big.
I'm just
No.
throwing a wrench in the program. So Star Trek is actually a massive show. I have a friend who was telling me to get onto that show. And I kept saying, oh, for sure.
Doing what?
And I never got onto watching it.
Oh, to
the
get
new
on to
one.
watching it. I
Yeah.
thought you meant getting on the show.
No. Clearly I'm not the TV type.
You could be an extra.
I'm more of a model type.
Yeah.
You keep being the engineer
I
and
do
the engineering.
Vogue.
man.
Yeah.
What do you
Scotty
do?
needs
I do
help.
Vogue.
I'm more of a dark nightclub kind of guy. Fair
Okay, more Batman.
enough. For sure.
Okay, yeah. Ooh, yeah. I can see
So,
you in that.
With
Evil
that
villain.
said, what was it like working on such a big show?
Oh my gosh. Unbelievable. Just the amount of talent and dedication and such a huge network behind it, CBS. And just everything that you see, there's obviously a lot of post-production and stuff like that in the effects and whatnot, but everything that you see as far as the spaceships are concerned is like live, like that's real. Like
Full
you
sets.
It's full sets. Like you walk into that and that glass is, $20,000, that single
Yeah,
pan
yeah,
of
yeah.
glass. It's insane. We had such a blast. They were long days, a lot of them. Hello, Peaches. They were, some
Oh my
wow.
God.
Okay, we
This
got to
is so
take a moment.
stoned.
This
This
is
is stoned.
way more important.
Oh, Jesus.
That is living the life, living the vida loca.
Is that the biggest show you've worked on?
Yeah, to date, yeah.
So what I'm trying to get at is like when you get to American television show like that, let alone something that's got legacy behind it.
Yeah.
Like that's big money that they're putting behind that.
$8.5 million US per episode.
Well, what was Game of Thrones? Just 10 something or 10?
Somewhere in that ballpark, I think,
It's
as
pretty
well.
high. I think
But
they're closer to 100 million now. But I could just be making that up.
Per show?
per episode,
Per episode. It's like
100
pretty-
million per episode.
I don't know. I just made
That's
that.
a
I don't
high
fact
number.
check.
I met Kit Harington once.
So I gotta watch Star Trek.
Oh, sorry, we missed that. What was that?
I met Kit Harington once.
Who is? I know
Jon
who he
Snow.
is. Jon Snow.
That
few of our
was,
friends-
okay, real story. This is
See?
really funny,
There we go.
and I feel really bad for this, but I was actually at the banknote or whatever. It was sometime in the summer, like 2000, just when the show was like really getting its traction. And at the banknote, at the Beaconsfield. Oh my God, my
No,
boyfriend
tell your
used,
story.
No, my boyfriend used to own that. That's why that's so funny. That's so.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. Sorry, I'm blushing. I love him so much. No, so I was walking by the banknote or whatever. I was going out for dinner or something, and just stopped by there, and this person was like, I just sat down, and this person started talking to me, and I was like, hey, what's up? Yeah, da, da, da. I'm like, he's like, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I'm in entertainment. He's like, well, I'm in entertainment too. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, he's having a Jameson, doing a thing, whatever. My girlfriends walk by and they go, and I'm like, what? What's up?
You didn't recognize his
No,
hair?
I had no idea who it was. And he's like, well, I'm on this show. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's
on
really
this show.
nice.
Have you watched the
I
show?
know, I've never
Awesome.
seen it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You probably
and
loved
my
it.
girlfriends
Yeah,
were
you
like,
did.
Kit. And I'm like, what the
Easy.
fuck?
Yeah.
They're like, you know him? And I'm like, no, not really. And they were like asking him a million questions. I was like, oh, I'm mortified now. But that was a funny moment.
Yeah.
That was super, super funny. So I feel bad.
Is that the biggest star you've actually had a crush? Like
It wasn't even a crush. I didn't even know.
No,
who
that's
he
what I mean.
was.
Like
feel so
when
bad.
afterwards you're clearly blown away. You're just like, oh, wait a sec. But did you watch Game of Thrones though?
I've still never
So
seen.
you don't know
an
who he is.
episode.
You still don't know who he is.
He's like,
Really, you don't know
I've
who
had
he
an
is.
in-depth conversation with him, but I've never seen the show. I apologize.
Like he's Captain Kirk to Star Trek.
Yeah, no, I know he's big. He was on
his
the
character is like massive, ridiculously
He'll
massive.
never
Should I
die.
get into the show? I think I've
Oh,
7 years of
absolutely.
Yeah,
episodes
you
to
probably
catch
should.
up
It's gonna
on.
take you some time.
Like
Big.
after the first season, you'll just be like, what the fuck was I waiting for?
Yeah.
Yeah, even my father watched that, and he's like, Dungeons and Dragons crap. Fucking bunch
I
of
love the
nerds.
costumes. Like every
It's
time I
great,
see
yeah.
them, it's absolutely beautiful that
Yeah, they
way.
spent a lot-
Aesthetically
lot.
beautiful.
So what about your costumes in Star Trek?
Oh my gosh.
Because I know Sully's on the design of the
Sully,
shoes.
This
Yeah.
is one of my favorite things was that got to wear George Sully Wong Star Trek boots, and that was awesome because George is a friend of ours,
Yeah.
Chad and ours, and I thought that was just really like
On the show.
on the show. It was really awesome. Like obviously they fit our outfits, and if you've seen the show, they're like made to measure, like blue tight. Everything fits. They know every measurement of my body, and then we got to wear Sully's boots, which is they were super comfortable. Like after hour 12, my feet still weren't hurting. So
Oh,
thank
nice.
you so
Good
much,
thanks.
Sully.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
That's
Yeah.
very good.
Love
Good
that.
work, George.
Good work, Georgie.
So how is
Thanks,
it?
George.
How is it being on a show like that? Now, are you a regular on the show?
I was consistently a part of the bridge crew,
Yeah.
so we will be back for the second
Perfect.
season. And so it's really awesome, and it will be shot again in Toronto. I think CBS has got it.
It's a big investment for them. Yeah.
It's a huge. There's like $2.2 billion, almost $2 billion worth of industry in Toronto, like film industry here last year.
good.
It's
Very
insane,
good.
and Netflix
Yeah.
signed on for like another 1.8 or
That's cool.
something.
Hulu's
Talking
on,
about doing
Hulu's
a bigger studio.
We
as
need
well.
a bigger studio.
Yeah.
We don't like they're competing for studio
Stage-wise.
space. It's insane. There's like everything's rented. Like Suits, Designated Survivor, they're all shot up in the North End, and then Pinewood has Star Trek, and it's been I've never seen the city like this.
Pinewood's Etobicoke, right?
No. Pinewood's out in the East End,
Eastern
Lakeshore,
area.
Oh, Pinewood
Lakeshore and
used to-
Carlaw. Kind of.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
just north of.
Oh, Cherry Beach,
Yeah.
right in there. Yeah, right in the Cherry
Okay,
Beach
yeah,
area.
yeah.
Hold on, I said Pinewood. It's the giant studio, is it not?
It's huge.
Yeah.
I think they're expanding it by
What was I thinking of?
700,000 square feet as
The
well.
one that's across on Lakeshore. We where the tracks are.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called.
So no, there's a few
It's a
older ones.
massive
We used to
one.
throw warehouse parties in those. They'd sit in space in that back in the day. So
Oh, okay.
that's why I was like, Pinewood.
That's
That's not a
crazy.
Etobicoke.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
No,
There's one in
there is
Etobicoke.
another one in
Yeah,
Etobicoke
Etobicoke,
where
I'm
some
trying to
other
remember.
stuff is shot. I've shot out there before too.
Commercials or television as well?
Shadowhunters.
Ooh.
Yeah, which
Never
is more of a
seen
teenage show that's based on a book, and that's
Is it a Canadian show?
No, it's American as well.
Really?
Yeah.
That's all right then.
Yeah. So, yeah, things are good.
You got a good agent?
I do have great agents, and I have to thank them all very, very much. And from the modeling to the acting side.
How did you do the transition though?
Yeah.
I actually started off in acting. I got scouted for modeling when I was 14, but I've been on stage since I was 7 or 8 years old in theater and whatnot. And then I got with an agency when I was about 16, and then I actually got a degree in theater and performance from York.
Yeah.
So I went to York's theater school, and then I started modeling all over the world because I wanted to do that. And I came back like February, but it's been a year since I've been here, and just got into it. And I had the timing of everything pretty perfectly. So yeah, I've never seen a city like this ever. I've been in the business for over 10 years, and I've never seen it this busy. So it's a good time.
It's bumping. I know the commercial industry is still bumping.
I'm shooting a McDonald's commercial next week. Like things are just rolling out really quick. It's February, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
So your schedule's booking up quick.
Yes, I'm very, very excited. Montreal is busy too. I model there a lot, so I'm heading up there next week as well. So
you're still doing runway?
I'm not doing so much runway. I know the industry's changed a lot as far as, weight and things like that, but I love runway for its live performance aspect because I get such an adrenaline rush out of that, and I love a live audience. But I would rather watch runway shows. I get more enjoyment out of it that way, and I'm a little curvier, and I like eating, and and frankly, that's what it is. And I've never been a size 00, so I'm 5'11". I don't think that's necessary. But,
No.
But what's up, Peaches? You want to go up there?
She's just she likes being curvy herself.
You are curvy. And so I do a lot of lingerie stuff and shot for La Vie en Rose and a bunch of other companies and stuff like that. But I also, Toronto is such a young fashion market. And so I like, younger girls who it's their first fashion week to have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. And just watching like the younger girls come up. I'm 26 now. I'm ancient in the modeling world.
Hilarity. I'm 26.
26, dead to the world.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm kidding.
What are we?
Well,
White
I've
walkers?
I've had
Yeah,
more
we are
modeling
totally.
success at an older age than I had at a younger one, actually, frankly, which is really interesting. But no, I love seeing the younger girls. They get an opportunity to do that because it's their first show, and and then they go on to international markets, and Toronto's sort of a launching pad for them. And I think, are you still in my thunder?
Who are you with when you started modeling then?
I'm with Peggy Lepage. Peggy, I love you. She's my mother agent. And then I'm with Morgan for fashion stuff here in Toronto, and then Specs in Montreal, and then the rest of the world is a whole bunch of other different agents. So I'm very, very lucky. I'm with one of the best mother agencies in the entire country, for sure. Maybe even the entire continent. Like, Peggy's awesome.
She's vicious?
No, she's the opposite of vicious. She's one of the most highly respected people.
She's got it together.
She's just got it together. She's so dedicated to us and our careers and nurturing us, and she takes care of us, and she's always been there, and she's so reliable, and she works so hard, and I'm honestly I'm so grateful for her. Without her, I wouldn't have had a career.
Do you ever get to mentor any of the newer girls?
Yeah.
Is that part of the program? Or?
Well, that's what I think.
So for somebody who doesn't know anything about that, you know what I mean? You have
I'm so fortunate to have these connections and just be able to put people in the right place if they even have an interest in it, because I know in the beginning it can be scary, and in accordance with Metoo and everything, Time's Up and everything that's happened, there are people who prey on young girls looking to get into the industry.
He's very familiar because
it's real.
You're very familiar with the whole modeling.
Yeah, I dated a lot of models back then.
But your stories, his stories. Getting to sit down and talking to them about their leaving at 13, 14 and going to Paris.
Yeah.
With grown men.
Yeah.
And drinking and partying and.
Yeah. It's very real.
With
It's
no parents around and not, not knowing, unless you have somebody that's going to guard you. you know, it can get pretty dicey.
You knew had a pretty crazy story. Is one of my ex-girlfriend. I won't give her name out.
Yeah.
But she was telling me a story. I believe it was in Japan, and they were like 15, 14.
Yeah.
And her girlfriend got picked up by David Copperfield.
Oh gosh.
And they hung out with Copperfield a lot.
Yeah.
And drank and everything else under the sun. But this is maybe like, she's almost 30 now.
Yeah.
So put together, do the math on that. Say 15 years.
Yeah.
Let's just say 15 years. 15 years ago, David Copperfield was still 50, 40, 50. You know what I mean? He aged well or whatever.
Yeah.
He's
Copperfield
in his 60s now.
Yeah.
But that's pretty damn creepy.
Well, you know what? A lot
Not
of
to slander the guy, I don't know him.
No,
But do slander him because
That's
that's
just
the problem
creepy.
is that we're not slandering people like that.
You know,
It's
what
not-
I'm trying to
you know
say is this is
Valid
a
point.
hereby. I wasn't, sorry,
Sure,
I wasn't
sure.
there. This is the story, so I'm not
Sure,
saying it as
allegations.
gold. However, I'm not saying this is a fact.
Right.
But that goes with the theme of what we're talking about. It's just, I've heard some crazy stories actually over the years. Trying to be too polite, I think, is
You
what's
are.
going on.
We can't be polite about it.
Well,
I'm
clearly he wasn't. Do you know what I mean? This is true.
Well, it's a real thing, and that's been the issue. And there's no union to protect, you know, models. There's, you know, actor and whatnot, and AFTRA and SAG that child performers can get in and become a part of that. They're protected, and they have to have parents on set and all these things. But in New York, actually, Model Alliance. I mean, check them out on social media. They've actually started to come together, not as a union yet, but
Under the same premise?
under the same premise, just to have a place where models can talk about these things, because it is an overly sexualized job, and a lot of these people don't know that these girls are underage, or if they do know that these girls are underage, they don't care. And that's what's been wrong with the industry forever. It's an abuse of power, and it fucks girls' lives up.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
it's exploitive, and I am so grateful that I get to be alive in a time that we're actually talking about this, because you would worry about talking about these types of things and have your career destroyed or have your name blacklisted or
Yeah, true enough.
because it's a genuine concern. Because if you complain about someone, we're taught not to complain about anything, and then you go out into your personal lives and then you don't complain about anything. It doesn't just affect, you know, the career aspect. It affects your relationships with people generally.
And how you work
And how
within the
you
industry
work with
too.
people in the industry, and how you deal with a personal life as well. And it just becomes, it's nasty, you know. And there have been stories in Toronto, and I'm sure there's many more of them. And I know on the actress side of things, finally it's being talked about. It's too late. Like, it's too late for so many things, but finally, you know, we have
The future generation's protected.
will be protected, or
Yeah.
more so protected. It won't be tolerated.
Well, there's that old saying too, right? And to think that it had no meaning would be kind of ignorant. It's the old casting couch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
to the point where it's actually in, like, you know, it's probably one of the first things that porn picked up to imitate,
Mimic,
you know what I mean, mimic or make fun of, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Word escapes me.
Yeah.
But it's generally known, like, you know, everybody knew. Just general public outside of the industry knew, like, you know,
kinda true.
casting couch.
Well, and that's always been is this real? Is this not real? Is this real? Is this not real? And it's the beautiful thing about it is, like I said, we can finally get to talk about these things. We don't have to be afraid anymore, and there's still a lot of apprehension towards it, but you know, you're not alone, and that's the biggest thing for victims and survivors of all of these assaults and attacks, is that you're not alone. And it's scary how rampant it is, just everywhere we look. It's
Is this something you guys would talk amongst yourselves about?
honestly no.
You wouldn't
So
even
it
say,
would
like,
be
that guy's a
something
creep.
that would be so shameful
Well,
that you would, like, I don't know, but I'm not saying you should be shamed of something. I'm just saying, would it be perceived as
Internally.
being, yeah, you'd want to keep it inside because you're ashamed of what happened, or
who do you
It's a-
trust? It's such a
that's-
fast
yeah.
industry too. And like, I remember I changed countries every 3 months, you know? I've been in different model houses with different girls, every 3 months. You don't even build relationships with people. You're just there for such a short period of time. And, you know, I remember we did have like a private group on Facebook, all models, and we would blacklist photographers in that group. So we would talk about it
That's
in that
pretty
sense.
cool.
We wouldn't necessarily, this was years ago, I remember. So there was a safe place to talk about that and just sort of be leery and wary. Somewhere at the forum to just sort of check on it, and it was private. You have to be invited into it.
I was just in Czech Republic and worked with so-and-so and...
Don't do it.
And don't do it. And it was international because all the girls are international.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, Toronto, here's this guy, stay away, and you can just run a name or whatever. And, you know, that was helpful. Mm-hmm. And the problem is, you know, you come out, you tell the truth, tell the story, but then it takes so long to get through the justice system. It takes and that's why a lot of girls don't do it as well, is because it just takes, you're dealing with the same thing 3 years down the road.
Emotional.
Yeah, it's emotional. It's a nuisance in a lot. It has to be done because it has to be done. But it affects your life, not only the emotional trauma and the aftermath of everything that happened, but it just the legal process of it all just takes so long.
And money.
You're
taking days off work.
Well, that's the thing.
I mean?
And you can there are
you can't go on a trip because you got a court case coming up.
That's the thing.
You can't work here nor there.
And even though you're not being ostracized, you're kind of being ostracized. Because if you have to go through that system, say you're supposed to do a runway show somewhere else, you're going to go, well, she's going through this right now, so we can't really book her. Because she's going through this.
You lose gigs as a result. But on the flip side of things...
Her and him, I guess there's guys too.
Yeah.
Male and female. I'm using victims as a male and female. I'm not gender specific.
Assuming that the more girls
well, you know,
there's
no such thing as male or female. We're all one gender, apparently. But anyways, we won't go down that path.
Full divergence.
I know, totally. But on the flip side of things, I just like to sneak it in every now and again. Hey, people kind? How's people kind doing out there? On the flip side of things, do you think it's fair for the length of time it takes to go through the court system, the justice system is called for what it's supposed to be, versus the flip side, which is the court of public opinion, which is swift?
See, that's where, I'm not saying that I believe everyone's story, but I think the media gets a hold of things and takes them to the next level. And
everything's clickbait nowadays.
Everything's so fast, and even in the stories that the women are telling you, you don't even get the full truth and the full breadth of it there. And, you know, that's just how the media is. Anyone can say anything. And that's my problem, is that even innocent people of any gender or kind or whatever are having their lives destroyed.
Men and women.
Men and women. You know, if a woman...
If we're going by genders.
No. No, and I'm not talking about any of the sexual, like the sexual allegations against anyone, because there's no reason to go public about it if they're chasing money or whatever. You just do that privately. But it's I have issues with the media just taking things and blasting things. You can write anything online, and that is not a criminal offense. And I have seen this happen and I've had this happen to girls, where a guy gets rejected by a girl says, I don't want to go out with you, I'm done. He goes, you're going to regret this. Goes and blasts about her on social media, all over the internet, and it's
That's
up there,
crazy.
calls her whore, or calls her all these things that she's not, just because she said no.
And that's the whole defamation side of things.
And that's the defamation and the slander side of everything. And that pisses me right off, because anybody can say anything, and it's not criminal. Even if it's not true. And that's really... That's a big issue with social media.
Something like that should be criminal, though. But I think that's where libel comes in.
They need to make a new law. They need to make a new law that says, if this is not a factual thing that you are saying, that and if a girl has texts that say, I don't want to go out with you, and the guy says, you're gonna regret this.
Yeah.
It's over.
What the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
And then she's out there in the public sphere being slandered, and she can't get a job, she can't get a condo because you Google her name, and she's not done anything wrong in her life except say no. And, you know, her whole life is ruined again. It's a very interesting issue. And I think there needs to be new laws protecting women and men from this type of cyberbullying and this type of cyber punishment for nothing, you know?
Well, I think it used to be, just like news, actually media used to have standards, right? And it used to be, for example, if the Toronto Star was going to report on something, because we're from Toronto. Yeah. They would go out and investigate, you know, get the information from the police. If it's a situation that involves the police, get out, the list of information they're allowed to release, try and talk to everybody associated with it and report on what happened. Yeah. But present day, I guess because dinosaur media in its own right is having such a hard time turning a profit. People aren't buying newspapers, they're not buying magazines, they're not really subscribing. It's kind of it's a consumption time right now. Everybody's just consuming, right? And no one wants to pay for it.
No one wants to pay that
So
type of money.
it turns into clickbait.
Yeah.
And what happens is they just throw anything out there. The standard of having like the Toronto Star's name behind it, as an example, is that it means something. You know that they've done their work.
Yeah.
Because if whatever they put out there, they're responsible for it.
Yeah.
But now it seems like there's a slippery law, or maybe the laws actually weren't in place. But they can just throw out, not saying the Star does this, but I'm saying media in general can just throw out any information and then splash it across the front page and then find out it's not true and put a small retraction on the back page.
Exactly. You know,
so it's the same mentality, right?
Scary. It's very scary because as soon as you
there's no standard for anyone.
There's no standard. I don't know if there's laws against that, but I think it's something that we need. We live in a different day and age, and we need to look at, you know, the things that are wrong and the laws that need to be passed and bills that need to be passed to
someone's got to step up.
So well, I think it starts at home as well too, though. Like I mean, you know, I don't think people are paying enough attention to what kids are doing. There's so many different grown-ups, but like now the grown-ups are at that, I guess the way.
These are grown-up people. I'm not talking about children.
You're talking about adults.
That's a whole other thing. I'm talking about grown
like 40,
people.
50 minutes. True, it's true.
Who,
career people even.
You know,
who else? Yeah.
I know of a story, and I won't go into details about it just to protect the people involved, but this happened. It's a real thing. These girls rejected this man, and he went and publicly defamed them because he didn't get what he wanted. And there's nothing in the rules, in the law, that makes that illegal.
It can be defamation, though, can it?
It's hard to
But you have to
see.
slander.
It's hard to prove. The servers are in another country.
You need money for that.
It's not even. You can sue. Yeah, that's.
What you can do a screen cap of something, I guess.
Well, they have everything documented, but then it's not criminal at that point, so you don't get the crown's not backing you, so then it becomes a civil issue, I guess, which it's really not because it's fake. It's a really complicated thing, but I think there needs to be a new law that passed that sort of protects against this type of thing, because a woman has a right to do what she wants with her body, or a man, if it was a man, and she shouldn't have to suffer because she said no. That's insanity.
It's definitely insanity. I think everybody in the world will agree with you, except for those that
do these things.
Yes.
Yep.
The flush out, right?
Yeah.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I agree with that.
Got a little heavy there.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
it's
I'm
good.
very
It's
passionate about these things because it's something that
We
I
all
had to
should be,
deal
though.
with, and I you know, I think that you have to talk about it now. You know, it doesn't, and I don't want to see the thing is I don't want to see the light go out. You know, I don't want it to. We have a way of. It becomes a big trendy story and then the next
news
month
cycle.
it's just the next thing, you know. I think this is an issue that's been going on for a long time, and the thing is the rest of the world looks to Hollywood and the entertainment industry to set precedences and to look for stories, you know.
And that's the hypocritical society that places as well.
Well, the corporate world and everything like that everyone's afraid to point fingers at, but it's starting to come out as far as politicians and whatnot. I'm curious. And correct me if I'm wrong, because this is happening so frequently now, but I haven't heard of a single athlete or musician.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking the same thing the other day.
It's coming though. There
It's
was an article.
it's bleeding
in
down.
Was there? Because I really just haven't seen it, and I would have.
But you know what though? I think athletes have been
in trouble.
Yeah, for a long
previous.
time.
Kind of known for
Yeah,
that, but like
it's known.
a little bit deeper than that. I mean, even going in high school, I know a couple of guys that made it to the NHL, and I've seen them do stuff. You know what I mean? Like I've witnessed that stuff.
Mentality.
And we all got them. One thing that my friends did is like, okay, those guys are gonna pay for that. And we got them all back, which is like, people don't do that.
Yeah.
But we witnessed it, and those guys are, you know, sitting in NHL winning Stanley Cups.
Yeah.
And getting praised for things that they do. And I'm looking at them on TV, I'm like, that guy is a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Like that's the worst person you can, and everybody's praising this guy.
It's a
And
twisted,
it's very twisted.
It's
very
the investment, right?
twisted.
So the teams are protecting their investment.
Big time.
Of course.
And then that's a big machine, the NHL in its own right?
Yeah.
Just like the NFL.
NFL especially.
You don't hear about
sports
tennis
and
players that have
organization.
dodgy backgrounds that haven't been blown out because it's not the same situation, right?
Yeah. Or like pro athletes, or not even necessarily pro athletes, but amateur athletes that are in the Olympics, that kind of stuff as well too. Like it's happening. I think it's going to come out. I think music will be the first one to come out with.
That's what I
Because
thought. We thought along with Harvey Weinstein and all of this, that music would have been right there and in the influence.
Or Russell Simmons got it, and then that article that Quincy Jones just wrote. If you get a chance to read that article, holy Christ, he calls everybody out. Like he holds nothing back in that article.
Yeah.
There's no filter whatsoever.
Yeah.
He says, this is what happened. This is what this guy. He's an asshole because of this. And he calls.
So what happened? What happened at the Grammys? There was a big. Was it Kesha that sang?
I was at the Grammys.
And So this is the hypocritical situation that I was seeing.
Okay.
Beautiful song, a lot of support, as there should be. And it's well documented the problems that she had, and the song was in specific about her producer, as I recall.
Yeah.
Skywalker, Luke, or I don't know. Some
Luke Skywalker?
I don't know his name.
Two Live Crew?
But
Two Live Crew.
This was also no.
What about that?
No, hold on.
How bad were those guys?
Let me make the point here. So this was also the year that there was the most hip hop artists at a Grammy.
Yeah.
And what's the most content against women?
It's hip hop.
Is hip hop, right? So you've got this large audience cheering her on and clapping, and you also look at the rest of the audience. This producer has also worked with a lot of those people as well.
Right.
And she's the only one up there.
Yeah.
And these artists are also sitting in the crowd cheering them on, but they're also writing songs about dropping Molly in drinks and raping women and beating them in their songs and their lyrics. So, spot the hypocrisy.
Well, and that's something.
I think that's an outsider.
I think that's a huge. No, I think that's a huge thing, and I think that Hollywood's been full of. The world is full of that, and that's
protecting the investment again.
To protect the investment, and that's also. I think that's where the time's up, and the Metoo movement is trying to get rid of that hypocrisy. And the thing is, if we went back 2 years ago, even would Kesha have been able to, put on? I think it was Alanis Morissette who did it early in the 90s with her Hands Clean song.
Yep.
That was a moment of it, but it didn't continue, and it wasn't a part of a movement. And I think now we actually have something that's solid, and I don't think in 3 years down the road we're going to have the same levels of hypocrisy. I hope not.
I would hope not. I don't think you see the movement going anywhere. That's for sure. If anything, it should be gaining steam and filtering people out.
And that's what I'm hoping. I was worried in the beginning when the Harvey Weinstein. I actually worked with Anthony Rapp on set of Star Trek, who called out Kevin Spacey.
Right.
It was hard to.
That was the guy who did that. He was a teenager, wasn't he?
No, he was when it happened to him when he worked with Kevin when he was a teenager.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
He's a grown up now.
Grown man.
Grown
person. Sorry.
Grown person.
We're getting good at this, eh?
Yeah.
We're getting good at this.
It's a grown. I use grown up. That's gender neutral.
Good for you.
That's a childish term, but it's gender neutral.
Now there's something against children.
Oh my God.
Keep going.
We'll just keep splitting hairs.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. So, and how much, you're shooting one of the biggest shows on the planet.
That broke when you guys were shooting, didn't it?
Well, that broke I think a week after or before. I don't remember the exact timing of it, but I was with Anthony on set, pre all of him coming out against him. And, it commendable to be able to do, work the hours that we were working and shoot the things that we were shooting and the demand of that. And then to be able to handle the media storm while you're in premiere mode, while you're in, tour mode kind of thing. And, just the pressure, like you said, and I think that's amazing.
Did everybody support him around him that you knew?
100%. Yeah, because we didn't know about it obviously on set. I wasn't floating information. I didn't know about it until after it came out. But that all happened, all at once. And the cool part is, and this is what I'm saying, I hope the hypocrisy and, it's proof that there is change that is in the industry because, Anthony's he's working on a huge show at the same time calling out someone who's a huge name himself on a huge show himself and saying, you're done. This isn't acceptable. This is what happened. And still working with that. So you know what? Cleaning it out, and time's up. It's time.
I think I was gonna say instead of Me Too, I like Time's Up best because it's more appropriate. No, actually, it's not more appropriate. I think it makes more sense. It does because it's just so embedded in that culture.
Yeah.
And I have my limited experience in that environment, but you can just see, it is what it is. Just the fact that we know what casting couch is, you don't even have to say anything, and anybody knows what that means.
Exactly.
Well, that's associated with that industry across the board. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And I take it into, I worked in Bollywood for a long time too, and I hope that, everyone looks to Hollywood.
Bollywood as
in India. Yeah. Okay. And those are huge, massive industries, still the same, sometimes bigger than Hollywood, which is amazing.
Well, they have more people there.
Well, exactly. And I just hope that this isn't just a Hollywood, Western thing. I hope this goes into the other cultures as well. And I hope, Hollywood can be the leader of turning this around, because I know in that industry as well, in Bollywood and all the other Hollywoods and film industries around the world, it's the same thing. So I hope
type of misogyny or power thing.
Yeah, exactly. And that is, I hope this can wipe that out in a global way. And I hope, girls aren't having, and men aren't having to deal with, the hierarchy of the corporate structure, that in itself, we were talking about porn or whatever the other day. Oh my God. I'm so passionate about this. I could talk forever. The stereotype of assistant and CEO kind of thing, playing that. And I hope that doesn't happen anymore. That becomes completely wrong, which it is. You shouldn't have to sleep with someone to get a job. That's fucking crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah.
And it's been going on
nuts
for forever.
Yeah.
And I just hope that the movement that has been started doesn't lose its traction and serious action is taken. And I'm noticing it on an internal level in the industry, that there are serious, actions and steps being taken to not let this happen again. That there are safety protocols. I was on Designated Survivor the other week, and we had a meeting, a sexual harassment meeting for 3 hours just on set with this group, not because anyone did anything wrong, but
we need to get it out.
These are the new protocols, and this is, time's up. You should be scared if you want to do shit like that. You're gonna get called on it, and it's gonna ruin your life, so stop it. And it's time.
Do you think a lot of men, before this even happened, or before this came about, do you think that there's a lot of support from men?
Support from men regarding these issues?
Are you hearing these?
I think it, in a lot of ways, yes. And there are so many good and great, amazing men on this planet. I was raised by one. I have 2 brothers who both are. I have an amazing boyfriend who are just fucking incredible people who would never... would never stand or allow this type of behavior, have called out. My brother used to play a really high level of hockey, and like we talked about this earlier, and would call out his buddies on it, and wouldn't participate in these types of things.
Rituals, almost.
These rituals, and maybe it's because he had a sister, but you shouldn't have to have a sister or a daughter or a wife or a mother, or we all have mothers, and that's what pisses me off the most about it. It's just like,
because most of these guys do have sisters and mothers. Well, they have mothers.
They have mothers for sure. You don't get here. Grandma. You don't get here by stork. Yeah. I'm sorry. That kind of
takes 2 to tango.
Yeah,
exactly.
So you need a man and a woman. Woman? What's that? Woman person or wool person?
A wool person.
A wool person. It's coming. I read another article about it today.
Oh,
What person?
The Canadian national anthem has changed.
yes, it has.
Yes.
And then
It's more inclusive.
Anything with
I'm happy
man
about that,
in it,
though.
anything
I'm okay
with
with that.
MAN or MEN in it relating to humans will be removed.
Are you talking about you people?
All of it.
Hugh people.
Who people? Huh?
Yeah, who people.
We can go on. It's ridiculous.
But the
You know what?
anthem's been edited before in the past. And you know what,
1814 or something
yeah.
like that. 1816.
And I think you should, as time progresses and we become, you know,
More singular?
not so much more singular, just
More
a
intelligent.
more intelligent society, that we should edit the things that don't, like laws that, you know, existed hundreds of years ago that aren't relevant now should not be relevant now.
Yeah.
It's not
Should
the
be
same time.
progressive.
You know, it
absolutely.
should be progressive. We should be thinking about things. We shouldn't just be passive on all these things.
But a real progressive, not a one-sided progressive where it becomes ridiculous.
There's got to be discourse.
It's got to be discourse.
Exactly. So.
And you got to be careful because you know not everybody has that opinion that you should communicate. It should just be their way and that's it.
I think a lot of people don't have that opinion.
You're a bunch of names otherwise. You know what I mean? It's just how it works nowadays, unfortunately. So that's kind of why we enjoy doing our podcast, even though we kind of we
stay away from it. We don't get political.
We don't get too political, but if it's day to day, you know, there's no harm in talking about it. Like, you know, for example, I was joking about like, you know, what Trudeau said earlier. There's no longer, he didn't want the lady to save mankind.
But it's supposed to be a joke.
It wasn't a joke. He was dead serious. I watched the video, but there's backlash and it went across the world and went viral. He's embarrassed about it. So he's retracting it and trying to rub it off as a joke, which makes him look like more of a blankety blank, if you ask me.
Yeah.
You got to own it. And then there's the expression, don't people up, man up, because that's what he is. He's a man. You know what I mean? Man up, own it.
Yeah.
You made a mistake. Next, move on, right?
Well, and that's, I think, regardless in life, anyone, if we're all gonna fuck up, we all make mistakes.
Yeah, sure.
I've made 1 million, I'm gonna make 1 million more. So I'm proud of it. And I think we've become such a culture of we screw up and we do something and we want to just bury it instead of just saying, you know what, guys,
I fucked up.
I fucked up.
Well, usually
That's why you know, there's things that you can't just go, oh my god, I fucked up. You know, sexual harassment. That's not oh my god, I fucked up. That's not a fucking asshole.
That's not a fuck up. I think we can all three of us can agree on that one.
But you know, you do things, you say things that, you know, come across the wrong way. Own it and move on. Don't go and that's, you know, that's the Donald Trump. You know, should we go into that? That territory.
He knows a lot. He knows a lot about it. I don't have media.
No, I don't like talking about American politics because we're Canadian. Although I do slide in some Trump stuff, but the reality really is, and this is something that we're as Canadians we can see, is that we touched a bit earlier on how the media is supposed to report on things, not to give you an editorial on everything.
Yeah.
If something happens, if a car drives into a wall, you stand up there and you report, this car just drove into the wall. Back to you. You don't go, it looks like to me that this guy was drinking with his buddies earlier, and I think he hit his girlfriend. Then he stormed off and drove off into a wall after he was cut off by a tree and a horse. You know what I mean? Basically, they're filling in the blank, just making it up.
Well, it's like an ad lib for like that's
exactly. And then the next day they'll go, oh, remember that story about the tree and the horse? I kind of got it wrong. He just drove into the wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
it's too late already.
You can't, once something goes out, it takes twice as much energy to get it back.
Well, and
if you have media relations, you know that. But I think what happened in the States is that when you get two really bad situations, you pick the one that's better of the two.
Better in a worse way, like in a way that would
they're
make
both,
more
they're
money?
both. I think when it came to the States with Donald Trump being elected, is that there was no good choice.
Oh, the best of the worst.
The best of the worst. I don't want to say the best because I don't think either of them are the best. Do you know what I mean? That's just my personal opinion. And I'm not going to get into the political anything. But if people say Trump's a criminal, guess what? Who else are we comparing him to? Clintons? Well, come on. They're criminals as well. You have to be a criminal
Politics
to be
is corrupt.
a political act. To have any political action at all in the United States, you're a criminal. Yeah. And I think Joe Rogan says his best. It's like, what kind of person in his right mind would actually run to be the president? Think about that. What kind of person? Well, you do need an egotistical maniac, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Woe person or male person. Doesn't matter.
Sociopath.
Man or woman, doesn't matter.
You gotta kind of be a sociopath as well too.
You got
because you gotta be willing to kill a lot of people and just like brush it off like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Especially
and
when
not
you're
take responsibility
son's-
for that blood.
well, people like it's not like there's a guy who sits there and presses a button and drones go over. Lawyers argue over the legality of it, and then they set a guy in a room in Nevada or somewhere, and he flies drones and they drop bombs.
Yeah.
It's not the same as 50 years ago or 20 years ago for that matter. And all that's included, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So politically, the Americans have what they have, and it's what they have. But same thing could be said looking back on what we have here. You know what I mean? We don't have an ideal situation, from my opinion, with someone that would rather support. To me, if we're Canadian, I've always been proud to be Canadian.
Yeah, extremely proud.
And to make me feel bad about the fact that I'm proud to be Canadian, because that's a nationalistic approach, I think is wrong. I think you should be proud where you're from, because you're a part of that culture. Your family, your generation builds the future, you know what I mean? And past generations have built the past. So you're a part of it. Blood, sweat, and tears, you know what I mean? But, there's nothing wrong with supporting fellow Canadians. And to make you feel bad about that, I think is wrong. You know what I mean? There's an expression you've had, is take care of your own first so you can take care of others, right?
Yeah.
So let's get here right.
Yeah.
And then, once all the people are no longer homeless and people who need attention are taken care of, then we can send money to other countries. Then we can send aid to other countries. You know what I mean? But let's take care of
We
here
can kind of
first.
make our own beds first before we go out.
Yeah, you can't go out and judge people, go to everyone's home and say, your room's a mess, my kitchen's a mess, this and that.
Yeah.
And then you go home and your bedroom's a mess, you got no furniture, you know what I
Put
mean?
your own air mask on before you
Yeah.
put on
Yeah.
someone else's air mask.
Clean up
right?
your back, clean up your own bedroom, as Jordan Peterson says.
Yeah.
Clean up your own bedroom
Yeah.
before you go out there. And that's where I think we're kind of getting, I think it's just getting messy here.
Yeah.
For no reason at all.
Well, you
as
know
well.
what? I still say, and after living in so many different places, I still say that we do live in a utopia. We do live in one
Absolutely.
of the best nations on the planet.
For sure.
And you're
Full stop.
proud to
And
be
this city
Canadian.
right here.
Absolutely.
And when you travel,
I
does
always
anyone say, oh, you're from Canada? Ugh.
No, everyone is welcoming, open arms.
Exactly,
Canadian
and there's a reason for
passport. It's
that,
a golden
right?
ticket, really,
Yeah.
frankly. And there's a reason for that, and it's just there's a tolerance here, I think, in this country, and there's
Well, you live in Toronto, right?
Yeah.
What's your ethnic background?
I'm German.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm Irish, English, and some American native and whatever, and your background, Jamaican.
Yeah.
At no time, it's always been okay to be around people from, people in my building are Muslim, Chinese,
Yeah.
from everywhere. I would expect nothing different. It doesn't even faze me.
It's not even an issue. You don't even think about it.
When I went to Australia and I traveled in Melbourne,
Yeah.
when I was in Australia, I was in Brisbane and then out back 8 hours into the whatever. And I left Brisbane to go to Melbourne. And when I landed in Melbourne, I finally realized what was so odd and off what I felt when I was there. Melbourne has the highest has the highest population of Greeks outside of Greece.
Okay.
And there's also Iranians and there was Japanese, all kinds of different cultures. And I felt more relaxed when I was there, but I didn't realize it until I got home and I kind of went over everything that happened in my head.
Yeah.
And it was just a complete soup, almost like Toronto.
Melting pot?
And
Like a New York type of melting pot?
Yeah, you could get different foods there. There was
And that's why you felt more comfortable.
Yeah, I felt more comfortable because it reminded me more of Toronto.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's when I kind of realized it's just we have it good here. We don't have.
We got a great here, actually.
Yeah.
We don't have issues that other countries have. Do you know what I mean?
But issues stemming
Across
from
the board,
past,
too.
that are just so ancient issues as far as, we're concerned here.
And archaic. They're so archaic.
I've lived in cultures where it's still very sexist and still very racist.
Well, a lot of the
Still-
old countries, it's built in, right?
And it's just ingrained in the thing, and it's changing slowly, but it's so far behind. And the caste system still exists, even though it doesn't exist. It still exists in the underlying current of things, and that is it feels different,
So when you come home, do you feel you can relax? Do you feel yourself relaxing, or do you feel comfortable when you're traveling no matter where you go?
I'm such a nomadic person, and I'm actually this year, and I go away every month or try to, anywhere. But I I miss the road a lot. For me, I just get such a vibe off of it, and just
Where's the best food you had in the world?
Best food. Ooh, I'm vegetarian, vegan, so that's very. I think that's biased because a lot of
some of the Mediterranean have great vegetarian food.
North Africa.
Yeah.
I've never lived in North Africa. I've only been to Egypt, but I love Indian. I love all different types of food. You know, as long as it's vegetarian. Italy's amazing, of course. I had amazing food in India. I love trying all different types of things. We have great food here. As far as restaurants and whatnot is concerned, because of our culture. 1, 2,
3 right across the street.
Well, because of our cultural acceptance, we have authentic versions of all of these international foods. You know, I really haven't experienced a city, you know, maybe Miami or whatever, but haven't really experienced, or New York, I haven't really experienced a city where you can get something so authentic and true to the actual culture from which it comes, because it's made by people from that culture.
Because other people from that culture are here.
And then other people from other cultures want to try it because it tastes amazing and you get to learn about it. You know, in Europe, Europeans have their own, you know, Italy, etc., Germans, whatever. But, you know.
Is there any good vegetarian food in Germany?
I haven't been to Germany since I was 8. So
there probably is.
I honestly haven't been back since I was 8, which I would love. I need to go soon.
I'm sure there is, man. Germans are...
We're progressive people. Very progressive people.
Right now, chefs. You know who has the most beautiful women in the world?
Where?
Canada has the most beautiful
I've heard this. I've heard this.
And I'm going to back it up.
Yes.
I'm going to back up because we have the multiculturalism. It's perfect here. Sorry, but it's perfect. Throughout the years, I used to throw a lot of warehouse parties, and we bring in a lot of DJs from Europe and from the States. And a lot of the drum and bass guys were pretty straightforward about it. They're just like, man guy.
Man guy.
Yeah, the hottest women in Toronto, and they're friendly.
Yeah, they're friendly.
And they're friendly. And I'm thinking in my head, well, I've always found them to be friendly, but the general consensus is that Toronto women are cold. I've never had that experience.
Depends on who you are. Depends how you approach women, once again.
Thank you.
But I'm thinking...
You know what I mean? Like, how you're approaching women.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with, you know what I mean?
I'm thinking the British guys come from, like, London area.
Yeah.
And American DJs, a lot were coming from the bigger cities, New York and that. And that's a fast-paced environment. It's a cold, hard environment as well.
Go. Yeah.
So when they're here and they're saying Canadian women are very friendly, I'm thinking, you know, I think they're friendly too. But to have a native Torontonian say they're cold, I think it's the same way back for them.
A lot of guys in Toronto don't approach women.
It's true.
I guess that's what it comes down to.
And I will speak on this, and I think that this is.
Do you have any tips as well for those single guys out there?
No, I stop being dogs. Stop being gross.
Yeah, that's a great tip. So
treating a woman,
that's
when has yelling at me from your car ever worked for you? Like ever.
What if I just slide up in the bar and just be like, "Yo, what's up?"
No.
So, and I spill my beer on you because I'm half cut.
Do it.
This is my issue with Toronto. This is my issue with Toronto.
Depends how you do it.
It's a very I find. And this is a very broad generalization, and I don't like generalizing, but
we're gonna ask you to.
But I will, because I find men in Toronto, there's no courtship anymore. It's just, and it has to do with our culture of Tinder and swiping left and online dating and this whole thing and just instant gratification.
Remember I said that last
But
time.
men don't open car doors anymore. They don't And I also blame women in some senses because they've become so, not masculine, but just like, well, I'm independent, which is great, which you should be, which I am, which is awesome.
For sure.
But there should be, I think there's a gender imbalance in trying to make everything equal. We've become so gender fluid that it's
not good.
It's
muddied the
imbalanced.
water.
Dating is, men are puppy dogs and they're emasculated, so they don't know what else to do other than be a dog. And women feel butchy and like mistreated because I miss tradition in that sense.
So tradition's a good thing in some ways.
In some ways, as long as it's not,
Okay, you know the magic when you and your boyfriend, what's his name?
Rob
first got together. The first time you kissed, did he go to you?
Yes.
Kate, do you mind if I kiss you?
He didn't say that exactly,
but... See, my point is that the magic of that first kiss is both you guys being in sync and knowing when it's supposed to happen.
When
and it
that
happens.
moment was.
and it's electric or it's not.
But I also remember him messaging me after saying, are you okay if, we kiss each other? Are you comfortable with that? Is that a boundary that you're okay with? Thank you. It happened, but
So he texted you after it happened?
After the second date, I think it was. Okay. He messaged me and said, well, if you're not comfortable, kissing or whatever, then we don't have to do that. I'm totally okay with that. And
that's not out of nervousness, probably.
I don't know.
I'm so nervous. Was that okay?
I don't know. Did she like that? I don't know.
I think she did. She kissed me back.
I don't know.
Should I just text her?
Don't you dare.
Like a couple things no.
If Rob's listening to this, Chad's mocking you, not me.
Rob's a good guy. I've met him. I've met Rob. He's a good guy, man.
He's an amazing guy.
Yeah, of course he is. That's you, right?
Oh gosh.
Takes 2 So let's get some tips out.
I am turning red because
So what's some advice to guys, and I was kind of going to be critical about some things, but but kind of what I was trying to get to is that it's gotten to a point now where the magic can be lost before the missed opportunity.
No one's looking for that. It's like a hookup culture, and I wrote a song about this actually. I'm a diehard romantic in a hookup culture, and I'm starved.
But do women not also fully enjoy the fact of when a man's a man?
I love that. Frankly.
So everything kind of contradicts itself right now. So it's it's uncomfortable for guys that are out there is what I'm saying, right?
It's uncomfortable for everyone.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, does it? Though?
It doesn't have to be, as long as people set their own personal boundaries and communicate effectively. And I think that's something that women need to do and men need to do.
Communication is always
a big factor. And be honest about it.
Sure.
And be honest about it. And if you are, if you like something, say it. If you don't, say that as well. There's a diplomatic and graceful way to do those things.
So don't blast them on social media.
No, you don't. Yeah, we don't have to go to the public sphere with everything.
No, and that's the thing is that people feel during this time period where you got Facebook, you got Instagram, live feed this, live feed that. I just ate the chocolate bar. I threw the wrapper in the garbage can. My dog looked at me. You know what I mean? It's kind of like everybody's programmed that they have to live their life online. And they go to a concert, they don't really watch it. They're too busy holding their phone up, videoing it.
They're not in the moment. They're not. No. I love sitting here with you guys because we're actually talking about things as human beings should talk about.
Isn't that the craziest thing ever?
How weird this is that I'm not checking my phone and it's been an hour and God forbid someone messages me. But I'm actually having such a good time because we're just here and we're present. And I think that's beautiful.
How weird is it that we're doing something as basic as just sitting down and talking?
Yeah.
And this is a specialty thing now.
Yeah.
This is a niche thing.
It's very strange, and I actually, when I'm with people, I want my phone away. I purposefully do that because I miss this connection, and I think that's a part of. I think our culture needs. I love technology, and I love what it can do for us. Use it as a tool, but not as an obsession and the addiction that it's become. And I think there needs to be, silent moments where the cell phones go away and you just connect with a human person, because then you remember that you're dealing with humanity and you're dealing with yourself and you're dealing with other people, and that's where the truth of relationships comes in, and that's where we learn to respect each other again.
Right. How old were you in, say, 92? 91. Okay. So
you're born in
you are the actual
amazing.
How old are you in 92?
Wow, that's amazing.
So you're the actual generation that grew up with always the internet. The internet was always there.
When we are the generation that
you've always had the internet.
Were we the ones that
Yeah, you are that generation. You've always had the internet. I keep over. I'm just thinking about that for a sec.
You're thinking about centennials. So you're actually still a millennial.
I'm on the cusp of the two, but I'm a millennial.
Well, when you were in, say, 8 years old, so when you were 8 years old, it was like 97, 98, right?
Windows 97, 98.
The internet has been like, I got my first email account in like 92, 93.
Yeah, I've had an MSN, MSN, AOL. I remember all those things. Yeah.
So you've never had to go to the library. And someone said this on a podcast that blew my mind. I can't remember where it was, what it was, but it was saying, like, imagine that you got logged onto the internet because you've never had to go to a library to look up information. You could always just Google it or whatnot, right? Imagine the fact you went onto Google and typed in, I got to do a report on Quadrophenia, The Who, the movie and everything. Type it in. Oh, sorry, someone else is looking at this page. Please wait. That's what it was like. We didn't have to go to the library.
If you weren't the
to get a
first one,
book.
that's kind of very true. And you
Someone
had to wait
else
a
had
week.
it.
Interesting.
That's true. I
That
remember
is
that.
true.
That's
a
crazy.
Really
Then you're just
interesting
crashing to get that thing done because that book wasn't, that piece of
Yeah.
information
point.
wasn't
You
there.
need
Can you
it.
imagine doing that right now? Like I've done that, but not with the internet. I've gone to the library to get stuff. You've never had to.
Suffer that way.
No, that's suffer. It's just interesting. You've
It's
always had information.
Suffer.
That's
Spend
suffering.
a lot of time in the library.
I don't like to procrastinate, so that sounds like absolute
Oh, it was
misery
the
to
worst.
me.
Yeah, it was the worst. It was the
like
worst.
wait for something.
Because then that person got the information and you didn't. So then you
Oh,
got the
and
D, that person got the A on the exact same paper.
I never get D's, but
So let me ask you one personal question.
Then you got the book first. That's why.
yeah,
That's why, because you got the book.
I'm German,
Yeah.
and we are always ahead.
Very true. Very, very,
I
very
don't
true.
really feel good about what you just said. Just so you know.
Oh God, here we go.
No, have you
No,
ever had a temper tantrum?
Oh yeah.
Of course you have.
Oh, I have pictures of me having temper tantrums because
What,
they were
Germans
so
have temper
epic. My
tantrums?
family wanted to document them. Oh yeah.
That's amazing.
I'm an actress. I fuck yes. I have those moments where I don't get violent.
Have you ever gotten
It's
first
drama.
prize at anything?
all the time?
Really? Because your generation grew up with everybody got a trophy.
Yeah, I don't believe in that. I don't
good.
believe in that.
So how did you get first prize when everyone else got a trophy as
They got
well?
participation.
I suspect some mistruth in here.
No, I
Backpedaling much? Sorry?
me? No. I think that my mother's a school teacher, and so
There you go.
So I grew up in school, obviously, but also seeing it from the teacher adult side of the education system. And my mother, it was one of the things in our being raised by her is she's like, I can't stand the way the school system is right now, where everyone gets a bonbon because Jimmy and Tommy are equal. Like, there's no competition. It's not real life. It's
That's a
not
fact.
real life, and that's always did well in school, thankfully, but I just think that I found it boring. What's the point in all competing for the same thing?
For an exercise. Yeah.
Like, it just, I
Well, that's the
don't
thing
understand that. I like competition. I think that you know what,
brings out the best or the worst as well. But you don't know
but you
either
find
of
your
those.
strengths.
Yeah.
You find your strengths. You find what you're good at. You find where you fail, and failing is good for people.
Sure.
Because it brings you to another place. If I always won, I failed a million times, and I fail every day. But if you fail, you get to then achieve. When you have the success, you value it first of all. But you get to learn something.
Well, you learn from your failures, your mistakes, right?
It's so basic, but we've obliterated that as a culture, and I think that's terrible. I think it's absolutely on the adults in this, political system that they've made the curriculum so hunky-dory, pardon
It's
my
almost
loosey.
indoctrination now.
It's terrible.
It's not learning or education, it's indoctrination
It's
now.
literally.
What do you mean by indoctrination?
Indoctrination, so basically what you are.
Indoctrined to, or like
Yeah,
in
you're
regards to
indoctrinated.
just this specific way of thinking?
They want you to think, sorry, not they, it's all,
Well,
sounds so
we'll say they.
conspiratorial. The
Yeah.
system is set up for you to think one way only, not think outside of the box.
Which is supposed to be the polar
No.
opposite when you go to school or
Yes.
university.
Exactly. So what's happening now in all the universities is that people show up to give speeches, and it's people who don't want them to say something protest and shout them down, which is the opposite environment that I grew up. The university was for a place where people had
Like
discourse
debate
and
clubs and
voiced
stuff like
different
that.
opinions
And we
and
talked
learned about
and we
everything.
communicated with each
But
other.
now it's not that way. It's like, don't like what he's saying, he's not allowed to have the right to have that thought.
Yeah.
And then the new thing is, words are violence.
Oh
Mhm.
yes, and
Which-
they are, and words are weapons, and that is something very serious, and especially online
So
and media.
how do you have a right in Canada to free speech? I don't think it's the same as the States, where they actually have like the
Freer
right.
speech?
I'm not too
Are they
sure
a
what it
freer
is. I'll have to
speech?
look- you know what? We'll have to look at our rights, a Canadian Bill of Rights.
Because we don't usually come with an amendment. Like, this is my
Well,
right
you know what
to
amendment
say
is?
this.
It's a correction, right?
Okay, not amendment. So this is how they say it in the States.
Sorry, that-
Commandment.
What do they say
I
in
think it's
the
our
States?
bill. We have Bill of Rights in
Bill
Canada.
of Rights.
Bill
Yeah,
of
we have a
Rights.
Bill of Rights.
So what do they say in the States?
The commandments. Is
No,
that what
that's
it's?
the Bible.
So if you want to have
Oh,
a
God.
gun, if you want to have a gun,
The right to
States-
bear arms.
No,
the right
it's
to
called-
the
hold
right
on,
to.
hold on.
Well, this is my
It's
my
called
second
the
right.
Constitution.
Constitution.
Right.
And
we
what
don't
they
use
did is
that.
they added on to it, and those were considered the amendments.
Right.
But the thing is with the Constitution, the states, you can't take it away. You know what I mean? You can't take away the core of the Constitution. You will always have the right. So it continually loops back to the fact you have the right to arm yourself.
Yeah.
You have right to a militia. You have right to this and that.
You have the right to defend yourself.
But in Canada, we're under totally different situation.
Yeah,
You have a Bill
the
of
British-
Rights that's
British.
been granted to us by the Queen,
Mhm.
right? And the Prime Minister reports to the Queen. I think the Queen can dismiss. You know what? I speak at a school all the time, but for some reason I don't want to on this because I sound like an idiot not knowing whether the Queen can fire Trudeau or not, or if
I don't think after since
they can put a
81,
bill
she can-
towards and she can shoot it down. I think it is.
I
Still
think
today?
that
Yeah,
I
Really?
think that stands if we may be in the same time.
because we're part of the
I'll have to Google
Commonwealth,
it.
right? Yes, we'll have to go to the library.
I'll do the library.
And you know what?
Open up my history.
Hopefully the book's there.
Canadian.
Yeah.
All right, what's up and coming for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's your bragging rights? Go.
Bragging rights. Oh my gosh. Well, I'd start with my family, my brothers, because I'm really proud of them. My youngest brother is, as I said, was not very high level of hockey for all of his life until he had an injury, and then he actually got discovered for rowing in first year university. He's in second year now, and he's on his way. He's training for the Olympics.
So he's a rower. We just
Yeah.
had Adam.
Man, he probably was with Van.
Yeah.
Vancouver.
So he got invited out by the Canadian team in his first year of the sport, and he's broken a bunch of records. He's 6'8", and he's 240 pounds.
6'8".
He's
Yes.
6'8" German,
7
200. How much?
7 foot wingspan.
Really?
How tall is he?
6'8",
And how much does he weigh?
240.
I was gonna say 100. He's lanky.
Yeah.
So 240.
240 pounds.
So he weighs like I'm
He's
235,
cut. He's super cut.
and he's 6'8". I'm 6'2"-ish.
Yeah.
He's ripped.
He
Shit.
must be. He must be
He's
lean.
Huge.
Lean.
And he's
Is he huge?
He's huge. Huge.
How big's your father
My
then?
dad's 6'1",
And your mother?
5'9",
That's tall, isn't it?
Grandfather?
6'4".
Yeah,
Comes from-
exactly.
Yeah,
My
it's
grandfather
very
was
tall.
like 6'4", 6'5"-ish.
Germans.
And so
Yeah, Germans.
he's
Love the Germans.
doing really well, and he just had an interview with CBC and CTV and stuff like that. So he's well on his way, sponsored by RBC. So I'm just very excited for him. And my other middle brother, he was a part of a huge in university, part of a huge business mentorship throughout the world. One of 10 kids across the planet selected for it, and so he's out in BC running like a huge lumber company out there.
Oh, no way.
$5 billion.
So he's
At 23, and he's well on it. Like up and coming for me is always family stuff. I love my babies. And then for me personally, obviously there's all the shows that are coming back and shooting here, Star Trek, and in the immediate shooting a McDonald's commercial next week. That's fun, yeah. And then I'm off to Montreal to shoot some fashion stuff, but also there's a skincare company that I'm possibly going to be working with as well up there.
Canadian?
Yes. So
I was gonna say La
I
Mer.
can't say it. No, that'd be lovely.
CW Beg?
And pardon?
CW Beg?
She can't say who it is yet.
I
'Cause
can't say because it's not confirmed.
Landline.
And I'm also working on. I play piano and I sing and I write music as well. So
do you have a SoundCloud page?
I'm working on that. This is the project of the year, and one of my favorite things to do is write poetry. I've always been a writer my whole life, and so I am actually working on combining the very famous and amazing photographer Yuri Deutsch. He does a whole bunch of exhibits all over the world. He's been a friend of mine for 7 years, and so we are putting together a monthly, not magazine, but something with fashion photos with poetry on the side. So a combination of the two. So that's a project that we're working on. Just super, super busy and having so much fun.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
What's still plug your social media?
Plug to my social media.
Yeah.
Okay. On Instagram, I am at Cait, which is Cait, C-A-I-T.
Is it Caitlin or Cait?
It's Cait.
Okay.
At Cait, Cait.Alexander, which, yes, it is my real last name.
I was gonna say, it doesn't sound German.
Yeah, no, my dad was adopted. So that's why.
Oh.
That's where the last name
Because my mother's maiden side is Alexander.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. It's not a very common last name. I don't know a lot of
Well, they're not common people, dear.
well.
Okay. So Instagram's done?
Yeah, Instagram, social media. Facebook is, you can just search Cait Alexander, it'll come up. And Twitter is Cait, C-A-I-T-J-A. And that's all the social media that I have because my life is crazy enough without any more.
What about, is there any Star Trek fan pages or anything where people can go vote? Tell you how much they love you?
There are so many forums and things. It's rampant.
Yeah, are you active at all on before we go, Comic-Con and stuff like that?
No, but one of my favorite actors to work with, Mr. Doug Jones, who is actually in Shape of Water as well.
Yeah,
He was
Doug.
Doug is amazing, and he is
Sorry, we don't know. We met Doug.
You met Doug?
Yeah.
That's awesome. He's a part of Comic-Con because he is Suru on Star Trek, and he was a part of that this past year. So, he is.
Sounds pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I've never been to Comic-Con.
I've never been either.
We should go once and do like reverse nerd stuff.
What do you mean by that?
Well, kind of like, you ever
jocks.
listen to the podcast of The Nerdists?
Yeah.
And he hosts practically everything down there that's worthwhile. Good for him.
Mm-hmm.
We could do the exact opposite is what I meant. So we can just set a booth up or just take someone's booth and like grab people.
I wouldn't know what to
do podcasts.
What if I wouldn't even know what to do in those. Like I don't know that many.
You just go because you're famous because you're on a TV show that's big.
You just
No, I get what it is.
Signing
it.
I know, I totally
Understand.
get that. No. I understand the concept.
All right, so you were worried.
What I would do at one of those things, I just find it.
Oh, so you
As
go.
a
You
fan,
probably
you mean?
just as a fan, you just walk around.
What should I like wear all the different superhero things?
You
Because
could
I'm
very
a
well
fan
do
of
it.
Everyone?
Yeah.
Is that-
Good every day.
just
Well,
be
you know
like,
what?
A lot of
be
money.
The universal.
That would make you more inclusive.
Yeah.
That would.
Yes, there you go.
Oh, I knew you got. I fed you
good.
that. I fed you that.
Thank you so much. High five.
Totally. Okay, we got to close this up.
I'm
Thank
Steve
you.
Healing.
This is Chad Kress, and this is an awesome podcast. Cait, we're going to have you back because we didn't get to talk about everything.
No, we didn't.
You
and I
play the
would love
guitar
to be
too,
back.
do you not?
I
See, there's a lot
am
of shit that
actually
we haven't
learning
talked about.
guitar. I'm actually
Okay.
learning guitar.
You didn't bring it though.
Next time I will.
Okay.
Awesome.
I'll play Mary Had a
Social
Little
media.
Lamb because that's
Social media is good. Social
Peaches had a little lamb.
Peaches had a little lamb.
She's
that's
crying.
amazing.
All right, everybody. We are at the City Podcast. You know where we're at. You know where to find us. Send us your messages. Who you want to see.
Don't forget to do some of the review stuff on. the
Yes, and
iTunes.
review our stuff
Or,
as well.
what is it?
iTunes, Google Play,
Yeah.
Spreaker, and
Freaker.
is it Spreaker?
Spreaker, I
Spreaker,
don't know.
and YouTube. Yeah, we're out, man.
Thank
Everybody.
you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Kate.
Stay warm.